I've actually trained guys here that other places will probably say they're unemployable. If you can make ordinary people do extraordinary things, then that's true leadership.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Breaking Bread, Birmingham food podcast presented by Food Obsessed Mates. I'm your co-host Liam, and sitting opposite me is my co-host and brother from another mother, Carl.
Hello.
That was very weird.
That's the vibe I'm in today. The vibe I'm in. How you doing?
Matches the moustache, it's all good. Yeah man, wicked. Glad to be back.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's weird not recording for a while. And then you get used to not recording, then you start doing it again. You're like, oh, I can't believe I weren't doing it.
Yeah. I start getting irritable. I need to get recording again. Yeah, we've done things a bit differently. So we haven't been just chilling like from December to now. We have been recording, but we wanted to get a few in the bag just in case. And it was causing me massive stress to have like just one recorded and then nothing. And then trying to get another one recorded. So I feel it's better to do as we're doing it now. But you don't need to know that.
No, we're doing this and we've got 3 recorded at the moment.
Yeah, we're loving it. Got loads coming up. Cannot wait for you to hear it.
They're good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah,
well, this one's amazing.
Yeah, we'll get on to this one in just a minute, but I want to hear about where we've been eating.
Where did we go for Christmas dinner? Well, not Christmas dinner, our Christmas night out.
Yeah, I mean, normally, we always go Michelin star for Christmas dinner. Not our actual Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
The breaking that me and you
Christmas
just treat
night
ourselves to a Christmas night out. I feel like
The wives weren't having it this year, were they?
and you know what? I feel like it's on trend because you can see after Christmas, a lot of people are cost of living crisis, maybe just reining it in a little bit and not going Michelin star. Jeez, I mean, bib gourmand, surely.
You'd have thought so.
Yeah, Trapaya in Harbourne. Loads of people have been telling us about how great this place is for ages.
It feels like everyone says, oh, have you been there? And we're like, no, yeah.
Joe and Conrad, they tell us every time, this is the best place in Birmingham to go. And we're like, oh, we'll get there. It's Harbourne, it's a mission, but we'll get there.
Well, that's the thing. You drove and it was still 35, 40 minutes, wasn't it?
It's the kind of place, you go and you eat a food and you're kicking yourself. Why didn't I go here sooner?
It's the type of place I only go with you. I can't afford taxis that far.
Mate, that was wicked though, wasn't it?
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Was so good.
Yeah, it was great.
The sharing aspect of it. It's not dear either. You could go in, get a couple of plates and go home.
Yeah, you could pop in for lunch and have a really cheap lunch. And then...
Not that we would.
Oh no, we went mad. Well, we don't know when we're going again, so I just ordered everything.
They kept telling us we've ordered too much and we disagreed.
Yeah, I was like, nah, don't worry. We'll order another round of bread, please.
Yeah, we'll keep it covered. Keep it covered.
How was it? I went
service
through.
was incredible. Atmosphere in there was brilliant.
Everything.
Yeah.
It was annoying that we hadn't been there. I was sitting there half in awe of how great this place was, and half annoyed that I hadn't been there.
I'd go back tomorrow if I could.
Yeah, I think they've got to get another one on the plan to go there. But everything was good. To do their own martini, that was great. The grappa they said is great. I mean, I literally drank everything I could get my hands on in there. The
octopus was unbelievable.
Yeah, all the food,
the pasta, everything was superb.
Even just the salads were and made the best salad. Everything was the best version of what I had.
You'll never ever see Carl going, Liam, gotta try this salad. Come try this salad.
I know, yeah.
But we were.
There you were.
I tell you where else was that it was on our bucket list, and it wasn't on this list that we just made here, but A La Mexicana, man.
Yeah, we never got around to that, and then we went, didn't we?
Yeah, finally got to A La Mexicana with Rory and Farah.
Yeah, from
Shout out to Pause, yeah.
Our friends, we went with them.
But that was unbelievable as well.
It's this exact same situation.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying, oh, you've got to go, you've got to go, you've got to go. And then you go and you're like, oh, fuck, it's good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Every time I go to Wally Woods now, I'm going to go there. I'm going to time it so I can go there for lunch and just grab a burrito or something because it's just ridiculous.
I want to do the breakfast there, man. That looked good.
Oh, everything just great. And
it's so simple as well. You see people's pictures and you're like, really? Is it that good? And then
I can make all the pasta at home, and you get there and it's there's levels to this game.
Yeah, there's flavour. You know what I mean? Proper flavour.
Yeah, and the owner just came around chatting, lovely guy. Nice family-run restaurant. Brilliant.
Had the best.
Spare wood.
That chocolate, what was it? You had a mango sorbet and I had a chocolate
The
sorbet.
sorbets were ridiculous.
Unreal. Better than any ice cream, better than anything that cold I've ever had before.
No sorbet has any business been that good.
No, it was incredible.
Ridiculous that was.
I didn't try the tequila or the mezcals, but next time I think I'm going to see what I can get on, especially the mezcal. I love mezcal.
Yeah, you make a proper night of it. Like.
Yeah.
That was
But again,
that
that's
was a
for us.
school
It's
night.
far though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine.
So it's a bit of a distance. But yeah, them two places, I'm very happy we managed to tick them off the list.
And our first meal out after Christmas was back to the wilderness, kind of picking up where we left off. The wilderness keeps doing great things.
They keep doing
Pop-up
great things. We're
wise.
going to keep going. It's one
We
of them.
keep going, yes. That's how it is.
So this was for Andy, for Low and Slow. He did a collab with 670 grams,
Yeah,
Cray.
Cray, our good friend Cray Treadwell.
Like two people, two former guests, two people we really get on with.
Amazing people and amazing food.
Yeah, food was great.
Yeah, it was wicked. Wasn't it?
Really good.
That was the fried chicken, when it Cray done his Andy done the fried chicken, and that was wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of merging into one, but I definitely remember the fried chicken.
Yeah, it was all good, man.
Yeah, so everything both of them do is just ridiculous. So
Yeah, it
when
was
they team up, you
incredible.
know it's going to be banging. He's got another one coming up, hasn't he, with Land?
Land, yeah, that one's coming up soon.
That'd be wicked as well. I mean, talk about restaurants that have been on our list for ages. And we
Yeah,
just
Land's
need
on the
to
list.
get
I ain't
to-
been there, yeah.
We just got to do what we did with the other places, just say, right, let's get a date and let's just go.
To be fair with Land, I've tried going about 4 times and it's always fully booked.
Yeah, 'cause
you've
it's
got to
not
book.
massive,
You've got to
like-
book well in advance to go there, I think, which is good for them, you know.
Yeah, great for
If
them.
I can't get a
man.
table, it must
bad
be
for
do
us.
something right.
Bad for us, great for them. So this episode today, it's another one that's been on. We're kind of crossing through our list of like people that have been on our list from the beginning.
Yeah, people we've spoke to and said, "Do you want to come on?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'll come on." And then 6 months later, we haven't spoken.
6 months if you're lucky, like maybe 3 years later. So Chef MK,
Yep, Raja
massive
Monkey.
talent, like Raja Monkey. Formerly, well, not formerly, still part of the Lasan group. But
Yeah,
he
it used to be
opened
Lasan Eatery.
Lasan, yeah.
Changed to there.
But he opened the original Lasan with his brother Jabba.
And
So we get all of the story of the Lasan group as well. It's like a double whammy of a podcast. It's brilliant.
This is very much his own place.
Yeah,
Very
Raja's-
different style and just, you know me, like it happens to be close to us. It's only down the road. But that's not why I class it as like one of my all-time favourite places to eat. It just is that good that it is.
Yeah. So anyone asks me where my favourite curry is, I always say Raja Monkey.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird. It feels like I'm giving it a disservice by calling it a curry house, but it is still essentially an Indian
You can get
restaurant. But
Indian
it's
food, like the
Yeah.
curries, you know, there is like a section where they exist. But
that beef biryani that I had.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I tend to go and every time I'll order something that I do not recognise the name of and is really unfamiliar, and I'm always so happy that I do it that way.
Yeah, that's what he kind of wants you to do as well. You could see a little smile on his face when he's talking about his special boards and trying to introduce.
Well, I had
Brummies to
what did I
something
have last
special.
time? I had the mutton chops,
Oh.
and it was just like thick black sauce all over these mutton chops and strong garlic. Oh, it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
So with most chefs we've noticed is that they're really passionate, and while we're recording he's banging away on the table, so there is a slight little rumble that I could not get rid of in the editing. But you'll be pleased to know that since then we've started doing a buy me a coffee. So if you love what we do, if you ever listen to us and think, you know what, I like them lads, if I send them out, I'd buy them a coffee or a beer, you can. There's a link now on this episode. You can click that link and do a one-off, just buy us a coffee or a beer or whatever. Starts at like £3. We'll love you forever for that.
You know what? It all goes back into the podcast. So
Yeah.
we bought a new boom with one
Just
of
got
them.
a new
so,
boom. That's
yeah,
what I was trying to
so-
get around to. So that hopefully there's no more rumbling, so you don't have to listen to the rumble because managed to get a boom. So because with everything, we do this for the love of it. We don't get paid. Although the podcast is free to listen to, it is not free to make.
Yeah, and
It's
I said we get
labour
nothing out of it.
intensive,
It goes into the equipment and doing the
Yeah,
podcast
yeah,
itself.
We're not living it up, man. We're not going to these restaurants on your money. We wish we were.
We're hungry, man. We're hungry.
Yeah, so if you could support us like that, that's amazing. But yeah, we've done our best with this episode, and hopefully you love it, because I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chef MK.
The last time I was here, had the blackened mutton chops.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my god,
That's
that was spiritual. That was something else. That was.
Yeah.
I was eating it because he loves lamb
Yeah,
chops as
yeah,
well. So I was
yeah.
like, oh, this is the dish for Liam.
Yeah.
This is-
Yeah. You know, it is a distraction, you know, if you're running a business as well, like me.
Yeah.
Because you can't just merely think about cooking. You know, you got to think about the whole aspect of things, and it's triple times more. So, but in a way, it gives you an advantage as well because you got control of the business and the direction of, because not many restaurateurs are inclined towards food or have genuine or believe that food should be central.
Yeah.
So in that sense, that gave me full autonomy to do what I want. You see,
That's
but on the
great.
flip side, you know, you become a restaurateur and all the other things. You know, it's like one man band, and you have to manage absolutely everything, isn't it? So.
Can we start?
Yeah, we're raring to go, man.
Let's go, baby.
Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Chefs. Thanks for inviting me.
It's not a problem.
How's your January been?
It's actually, I mean, January normally we do have a decent month.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know how it works, but
Maybe people stay local or something. You
I
know?
mean, it starts off a bit steady, like you know, just after the holidays. But then, you know, it's been pretty good. You know, can't complain in that sense.
Anything in January like's pretty good. It seems busy though. You know, Carl was in Sturchley there a few weeks ago. I was in Solihull, and there's a lot of people out and about. You know.
Well, that's good. That's really
Yeah.
good to hear. You know, because we obviously are on a sort of unnerving kind of territory at the moment, isn't it? They're talking down a lot of in terms of the economy and so forth. So,
Yeah, and there's plenty of places closing at the moment as well. which
yeah,
is
but
horrible.
I mean, you don't know, you know, you want to remain positive as a business to keep your spirits up and everything. You don't want to get dragged into all that negativity. In terms of, you know, forward planning, what do you do? Do you you know, cut back? Do you sort of, you know, go along with your plans and be boisterous and, you know, sort of if I wanted to expand, for example, you know, do I hold back expansion and those kind of things? So that's the uncertainty that sort of causes these sort of like, and also you know, and it has a ripple effect, I guess.
How do you cope with that? Because I'd be like, some days you'd listen to the news and you won't want to get out of bed. You think I'll just shut the shop.
Funny
It's
thing
going down the power. What can I do?
Funny thing is, you know, me personally, you know, I've built a resilience over the years because, you know, you are under, oftentimes restaurateurs are solo thing. It's very solo. So you're on your own. And, you know, when I first took over this place, it was the recession, like, you know, 2010, 29,
Yeah,
11. Yeah. So what I built, I reckon, over the years is this sort of resilience and an ability to plow on no matter what's thrown at you. Because end of the day, that is the nature of the game, isn't it? There's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be peaks, and there's going to be low points. And one thing that got me sort of, because you have to prepare and be mindful about there will be times when things are not good, and especially in a restaurant trade, fluctuations can be from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And there was a Swiss Army knife company that I was watching a documentary, and it's been passed down generations after generations. It's a family business, and one of their secrets is they save during the good times for the bad times, and that's how they sustain themselves over the years. So I thought that was a fantastic model, like to think about, because well, oftentimes a lot of people naively go into business thinking, restaurants especially, is very underrated, thinking, well, how difficult could it be? You know, I know how to cook at home. I know how to cook at home, or, you know, I could do better than that. You know, obviously, commercially, things change. And then they realize the hard way. So naively, people go in and they're not actually equipped to actually survive as well. So I've seen a lot of that. But because, you know, even though I'm only 44, but I feel like a veteran because I've been in the trade for like 27 years. I'm of a generation, I think, of like a sort of interim generation of sort of the old guard and now the new trend stuff that's happening and so forth.
Yeah.
So especially in the Asian sector that I'm in. So I feel like in that trade. And I think for those reasons, like I didn't realize how sort of even my peers in the industry, how they perceive me or perceive us, as the Lasan group. And it's actually heartwarming. But at the same time, I think there should be more. There should be more people that actually sort of leading the way or doing positive things, and for me, uh, it's humbling. It's definitely humbling. So I try and do my sort of bit as well now because you have to give back, and especially like things like knowledge. So over the years we've as a restaurants group and individually as well, you acquire knowledge, and you want to impart that knowledge as well, and it'll be a shame, so a lot of people obviously talk about our food aspect and how they love the food. It hasn't come by accident.
Yeah.
It is a lot of thought and a lot of time and effort and the acquisition of knowledge and sort of that over the years. So that's the sort of accumulation. What you're seeing now is an accumulation of because I've worked with chefs like from all over, different people. 27 years career, so you're talking. I've seen a lot of people and a lot of things, and I just taken the good bits, and so tweaked.
Learn from the bad bits.
Yeah, and also, well, that's something my brother funnily used to say because he was interviewed once and they said, so what did you, it's because, we've seen the Balti restaurants, the curry house and, we've seen that as well. And I actually worked. So my very first job was a KP when I was 17 years old and I did the dishes, but I was very diligent. Even that, I took it very seriously. Like the hygiene, I did my hygiene, and I would wear I would wear a chef tie and skull cap, and I took it really sort of religiously. Even the pot wash is clean. So professionalism and in terms of dedication and being sincere has been part of me for like since I've started working, and even to this day. So have like some strong ethos that I really hold dear to, and that's about genuineness, about not sort of going with the trends for the sake of, especially food. And if you're a chef, it's quite easy to be drawn into it. And then if you're a restaurateur, then commercially as well, you have to think, okay, well, do I go with the trend and to attract custom, or do I stick to what I believe in, fundamentals? And luckily for me here, it's been a beautiful journey where I've been able to really impart sort of my heart and soul into the Raja Monkey. And that's been the beautiful thing because, like they say, a good chef is what you see on the plate is an extension of themselves. We could talk about theory and application of things is the difficult part because you might have a concept in your mind, a restaurant you want to do the best. Who doesn't have that thought? But, I want to do the best restaurant, but when it comes to actually executing that, things don't necessarily turn out the way you want it to. Fortunately for me, the beautiful thing is a lot of the policies, a lot of the sort of the thinking that I had is materialized, and it's actually far exceeded my expectations as well. Yeah,
That's great.
We always start by going right back to the beginning. What was your childhood like?
Right. So childhood, my father was retired before I've never seen him work, but he used to work in the cotton mills, and we came to the UK when I was only 6 years old. So we lived in a terrace house. We lived in a sort of one might say ghetto part of the city, or
Straight into Birmingham, or
yes, very first in Birmingham, and we grew up in a very sort of like a harsh period as well. Me and my brother, we started working very young age. Soon as I just about finished college, and I started working. First job was a restaurant job, like I said, KP, and I really couldn't to sustain the family. My father said, you're not going uni, you stop education, kind of thing. And I used to be quite studious. I used to love studying, and that was really hard. But I mean, it's really a rags to riches story, truly, to be honest. But one thing I do say is like my elder brother, I'm not like him. He's very entrepreneurial, and no one needed to tell us, go and do something or work hard or achieve something. There was a fire in our belly. There's that natural fire in your belly because end of the day you start from rock bottom. You're starting from zero, right?
Yeah.
So with my first part-time job, I bought my mom a toaster. Okay, yeah. Because and the funny thing is, so my father has this ritual of eating chapati and red meat curry, which is not good for you for breakfast. For breakfast,
That
right?
sounds like a great breakfast.
Yeah, right. So my elder brother and myself and my dad used to have that same diet, and I was only, I'm guessing now, probably 11, 12 max, and the kitchen, what do you call it, cupboard, I just about reach, and I'm rolling out chapatis for them. So we'd have, so inadvertently, I look back at myself and my whole journey, and I say I'm one might say a reluctant chef,
Yeah.
because it's happened subconsciously that I didn't even realize that how I got into it.
Sort of like the stars aligned for you to become a chef.
Yeah. So, I never envisaged myself to be a chef. I never envisaged myself to be a restaurateur. So the trouble with the Asian Indian restaurant or the industry is that it's not perceived to be a career. So for those reasons, even though I was earning an income, I never thought I'll be doing this. And so I did accounting training alongside, so that I'm perceived to be professional in the, and that kind of thing. So, and in the community, it is looked down upon sometimes, if you work in the restaurant industry, well, you're not a non-achiever kind of,
Is that still today? Or?
There is a bit of stigma still, yeah. There is a bit of stigma still, but people are obviously branching out, and people are a lot more educated. And those days, there was no degree holder in the whole street, whereas now every household's got masters, but I mean, if it wasn't for Lasan, truly and honestly, the professionalism that we had from day one, and our philosophy and the way we run business, I would not have done a U-turn. I was riding two boats anyway. I was riding the restaurant scene and training and doing my sort of professional accounting. So I trained to be an accountant, and I supported my brother Alassane when he opened Lasan in 2002. So I was working in the kitchen for 7 years. And I would, like I said, inadvertently, I didn't realize I was getting hooked, Friday, Saturday, the buzz, I was like making sure every service is going well. I'd read the comments card, and I'd go in the kitchen and tweak the menu. So I was he was passionate for his business, obviously. But in terms of the kitchen, I was really engrossed in that. So my younger brother, who was like, he's a trained chef, and he was in the kitchen as well. So me and him, so sometimes we were holding the fort,
What was it that you liked so much about it?
I think, deep down, I'm a perfectionist. This gravitation towards anything that is excellence. And when Lasan, from the very get-go, we were like the black sheep. We were the groundbreaking kind of restaurant in Birmingham.
Yeah, I remember it coming out.
Yeah.
It's big news.
Yeah, so we were ahead of our time. We were sort of because you're young. When you're young, you have that confidence, then that fear isn't necessarily there. We were, I heard people say we were fools to open where we opened Lasan, because let's be honest, there was no passing trade there. It was a real risk,
About half the flats that are there now weren't there.
That's right.
Either.
It was derelict, and they've been talking about doing up Julie Quarter all these years, and there's no regeneration after all these years. But on the flip side, he has this exclusivity about it. He had this nice sort of, for those days, it was like, he had a clean kind of look and the minimalistic look. And so we were at that time. So as a chef as well, I've come full circle where, those days I thought the best chefs were the modeling towards, the French chefs and the styling of plating and all that kind of, the nouvelle cuisine. So I was fascinated with that. I know I like, sort of, how do you call it? But the difficulty with Indian food is very difficult to present, to make it presentable. Because let's be honest, the culture here of dining out, etc., it's not like that in the Indian subcontinent. Even more recently, you got people coming out and dining, but there was no such concept of restaurants. There's cafes and sort of like fast food, what do you call it? But there's no, it wasn't a lifestyle thing over there. Only more recent thing.
Yeah.
So they say there's more Indian restaurants in England and UK than in India, and for those very reasons. So that's what I mean by we were at a time period. So we were like early migrants or second generation, whatever you like to call it, migrants in this country. So I'm in this unique transition period in history where we're bridged between the culture in the Indian subcontinent and here. And I always use that as to my advantage as well, because I homed in. So when you're the chef, you're soul searching, you're trying to find an edge over there, somebody else. And I thought that gave me a USP because I spent 18 months in where I was born. And my father took me to get cultured, and I literally got cultured because I did absolutely everything over there. And that was, so even to this day, I have some food memories from...
Where was that?
So it was Sylhet, Bangladesh. So obviously, Bengal, was split and Calcutta, so forth. But we were the same culture, and it is known for food. Bengal is known for food. It always historically has been. And our diet is more fish-based and more rice-based, you see. So, and in the UK, things are obviously different because at that time, my father's generation, we were India, and the people that set up the very first restaurants, the Bangladeshis, that called it Indian restaurants, right? And even the ignorance of the community here, we were generalized anyway. Pakistanis, Bengalis, Indians, we're all the same. We're all Indians, right? Yeah. So and this is not, Bangladeshi is not catchy. Let's be honest. It's not like a Bangladeshi restaurant. Okay, when we opened Lasan, me and my brother, we didn't have to even discuss it. We knew the elephant in the room was there's more to Indian food or the food of the Indian subculture than what was offered here in the UK. It was apparent to us. So what we were introducing was home cooking and ingredients and exotic ingredients. We started doing that, and it's been a learning curve. You see, it was trial and error, testing new things. So we weren't afraid to experiment, but the general public in Birmingham and the surrounding areas weren't ready for it. So we had to backtrack, and so imagine like fine dining Indian looking restaurant and people come in and ask for a tropical balti. Right? Okay, so we had to backtrack because, like I said, we're ahead of our time. So there's been a process of education, and that is the frustrating thing for me, even to this day. What I'm doing with Raja Monkey, you probably noticed because you guys been coming here. It's a journey where I can't force things because it's your market that dictates end of the day.
Yeah.
But as a chef, it's frustrating because you can't push the people to try and be adventurous or try something new, flavors, new tastes. So you have to wean people in, unfortunately. And that's what I've been doing here to date. And it's frustratingly slow because people are resistant a lot of the time. So what I did was the Raja Monkey, I did Chef Specials Board. And that's been the breakthrough for me where I got people to try new things to the point where we'd get a phone call, oh, what's on the Chef Specials Board? Yes, we got Chef Specials. Yes, we're coming, right? They put the phone down, they'll come and won't even ask about the price or what it is. Give me. And 99.9% it's been a hit. And because that's something, and not only myself, because I like to empower my team as well, and I let some of my guys come up with things if they wanted to. And I would test it and make sure it's of a decent standard. And it's been a roaring success in that. And from that, my current menus evolved as well. Where I used elements of that. So it's been a very interesting journey.
Yeah, I've got to admit, every time I come into the restaurant, I always purposely try and have a different main course every time just to try and get through the menu. And I've never once been let down, ever.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, this is the thing, in terms of, it's been a learning curve anyway. It's not like, a lot of young chefs I speak to sometimes, they think year 1, year 2, they'll be the best chef in the country, right? Or, okay. It just doesn't happen like that. And look, I've been doing it for 27 years. I've matured into it, but it took me a while, but I'm sure others could reach, a lot sooner. That's not the point. What I'm trying to say is the knowledge base, that the basic foundation, you can sort of fool people, or you can sort of be pretentious and sort of try and jump the gun, make yourself look the part, and so forth. But the basic crux of the substance, you want develop substance without having the exposure, without really putting your mind and soul and heart into learning and persevering with understanding flavors, understanding techniques, and being a sponge. I always look for good attitude when it comes to working in the kitchen or in general. That's how I've been. I've been like a sponge. I respect my elders, even though they knew less than me or weren't sort of versed in English or versed in like sort of the contemporary stuff. But I respect them. I'll speak to them. I'll try and bring something out of them, like, about anything that they've, food experiences and so forth. So I was quite inquisitive, and I'll ask questions, and that's how I learned. In the UK, there's no training school for Asian, Indian, proper, what do you call it? So we learned on the job. That is something that is actually, unfortunately, one of the reasons why we are not seeing more and more Asian chefs coming out in a big way is predominantly because there isn't a schooling or a learning method. So, whereas the Western cuisines, you had the roux and, you had all that sort of real institutions where people can come through the ranks. And then you got, look at the revolution happening in the UK food scene. It's amazing. But it's a more recent phenomenon if you think about it.
Yeah, it's not that old.
It's not been that long. But we don't have many solid institutions of restaurants, or even, where I can say, guys, go there or go there, get some experience through those chefs or those kitchens, and you will learn, So unfortunately, not many kitchen are churning good candidates out or people of notable, what do you call it, because the practices and the knowledge simply isn't there.
Do you think that it's harder for places like, say, UCB that do a great job in Birmingham of putting out lots of chefs? If one of them comes to your kitchen, are they just completely lost because the techniques are different and the spicing's completely different to what they'd be used to?
I'm not entirely certain of, in terms of their syllabus, how much they're teaching, and from what I've seen, you'd be very rudimentary, so obviously, but that I wouldn't knock them for, because
no,
even seasoned chefs, I'm talking, they have to relearn everything when they come to us.
I was going to say, you cook a lot with a tandoor as well, don't you?
Yeah,
like
and I mean nowadays the colleges do have tandoors, but that is, again, these skills are with time, you develop, like with anything, spicing is a very sort of intuitive cooking. And is something you can't force down someone, what do you call it? Because I run cookery classes here, because there's this argument that, you can't teach Asian cooking to non-Asians. There's these people that make this argument. I disagree on that. Yes, they have an advantage maybe because they've been brought up tasting the same food, right? Yeah. So so they might have an advantage, Asians or people from the Indian subcontinent. But I think the factor is, if you overcome the fear of the exoticness and all that kind of thing, and you have the right attitude, you can be taught. I have taught people, youngsters, if they have the right attitude, I would teach them. Yeah, I mean, what I've been doing with Raja Monkey as well is trying to be that beacon of, like, I'm fighting my in my little way, because under the day, we're a small business. We can't change the world, right? But then I thought about this and I contemplated. I said, okay, so what is it how do I attract people? How would I sustain my business? So I said, well, I'm going to inspire people. And I've had people, youngsters, that have worked in other restaurants, but when they come here, you can see in their faces how they, they're smiling in terms of that they feel they're learning. They feel, what we're doing here is very exciting and revolutionary to a certain degree, and they get inspired. I've actually trained guys here that other places will probably say they're unemployable. If you can make ordinary people do extraordinary things, then that's true leadership. And because five fingers are not the same, and the industry we are in is very hard to attract the talent and attract people that, qualified or, people. And they go into hotels and stuff, so for the independents, you're not going to be able to remunerate them and give all the perks like big companies would. So it's very, very tough industry.
We kind of skipped ahead, but how did we get to, because we're recording this in Roger Monkey and Hall Green, you kind of skipped from town, because last summer's in town, jewellery quarter. Why did you open it here in Hall Green? What brought you to Hall Green?
Right, it's a funny story because it happened by default again. We weren't thinking of opening it. This was the second branch, second outlet. Lausanne was at that time, we was making headway, waves, and we were really concentrating on Lausanne. This particular site came across one of our uncles actually. He saw the site and he came approached me and my brother. What do you think? Can you guys help? And you do all the branding. You do, Jikoli. What do you think? So my brother said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, we don't do takeaways at Lausanne. It's a residential area. We can do a takeaway branch of Lausanne." So that's how Lausanne Eatery came about. So we came in, and then being who we are, nothing was gonna go amiss. We were really focusing on absolutely every single detail and making sure it's to a good standard. Okay, so this location, so it sort of morphed from one thing to another. It started out as Lausanne Eatery.
Even then, you didn't start off doing like, this is laughable, I'm going to say traditional
Curries, yeah.
curries, like
so
what we're used to in England. You
Yeah.
didn't just stick on a load of paffias and jalfrezes and stuff. That's not
No,
what
no,
you
so
were doing.
we still stuck to our principles. For example, like the demand is there for a jalfrezi, the demand is there for a madras. So what we said was, and when I took over especially, I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do jalfrezi, it's going to be the best jalfrezi around. Even though there's no such thing as, there's a jalfry, which is like actually a stir fry, which is not a curry. So if you look at how sort of authentic these things are, we do chicken madras, for example. Now we had guys from Chennai work for us. Okay, so they're from what was known as Madras. Okay, and they were laughing. We never had a curry called Madras. So very, it's very much like a love thing in terms of the menu. It's, I don't knock it. I say it's anglicized menu. So, but don't say it's authentic and it comes from a particular region in India.
It's delicious, but we know what it is.
Yeah, people love it. That's fine. There's a market for it. So be it. I don't knock it in that sense.
So what was the food when you first opened?
Here, Rajamonkey, Lausanne Eatery. So it was a menu so we want to keep it accessible. So it was more curry in a bowl, and, Lausanne was the plated food and the more sophisticated kind of So we were still doing decent, but there was a lot of the offerings and in terms of things that sort of, it was quite elaborate menu, bit of lamb off. So, but we started off things like dosas and stuff, which was quite unheard of around that time. Fresh as well, like, we had a grinding machine, we still got it. And we had this industrial one imported too, actually. We got imported from India with grinding the rice and lentils and stuff. So real, the stone grinders and stuff. So very few people, even to this day, do that because they buy in packets of,
Yeah, there's people today that still don't know what a dosa is. I'm pretty sure if I asked my old man, he'd be like, I haven't got a clue. And he loves Indian
Well,
food.
very few people do it. And I think there's a particular reason for that because it's quite sort of, you have to be skilled. You have to be skilled, and it requires, nowadays it's all about commercialized kind of in restaurants where de-skilled everything, so that's why they wouldn't, they won't, probably half the time they can't employ someone that can make dosas.
So you were kind of like doing street food before street food was a thing.
Raja Monkeys, when we actually said, we're doing street food, my brother was the person that brainchild in terms of rebranding. He was adamant, we need to rebrand because Lausanne Eatery was being confused with Lausanne in terms of, because we opened and to our surprise, we didn't realize the amount of interest there would be. People were queuing outside and it was jam-packed inside. People on the opening night were standing up, no space. And we were refusing a lot of people and stuff like that. People were expecting the Lausanne in St. Paul Square as well, so it's getting a bit confusing. And for me personally, when I took over from my brother, it was a bit of halfway house. For me, it was no here, no there. So, and then the thought of street food was mentioned. So, and it was left to me, and because I said, well, Raja Monkey, I don't want anyone else involved. It'll be just sort of myself, just to keep things simple the way in terms of managing or, following through in terms of the vision. So everything starts with the vision. So I put a lot of thought into what I was going to do, and I followed my heart. And that's that's been the best thing. The way I saw it, food is all about winning hearts and minds. It's subjective. So how do you attract people? How do you win over people? And I took a really different approach with Raja Monkey comparison to what we are doing in Lausanne. So Lausanne was, in the news for awards and one thing after another, being very popular. But I took a reverse sort of, what do you call it, approach here, where I said, no, it's going to, because it's a double-edged sword. People come with high expectations and all that kind of thing, and it's quite loaded, like sort of perception of what. So I said, you know what? How do I get people to think about what I'm putting in front of them rather than this built-up sort of anticipation of this award-winning restaurant? So my philosophy was promise less, deliver more. Okay,
Yeah.
so these kind of strategies I applied, and then I said, okay, restaurants are more than just food and service and marketing. It's a people's business. So you are interacting with people on a daily basis. You got people within your organization working in the kitchens and so forth, and you are dealing with people. So then I said so one of our marketing guys, so we were brainstorming. Him and I sat at the back, Lasan Eatery, and they said, Munayam, what are you going to do? I said, you know what? This place lacks a soul. And he said, Munayam, that's true. Because we were like a conveyor belt of churning people. We were efficient.
Yeah.
We were efficient, like the way, you have impersonal service, like the way you have chains. It was a conveyor belt of people coming in and out. But I felt it was lacking. It was lacking in terms of a real soul. And I applied that through everything that I do. And that's what I mean by the ethos of genuineness and authenticity. Authenticity is point of not, necessarily the origins of where our dishes come from, but being genuine in what we are producing. So no gimmicks, no, what do you call it, real hearty food. Work, we put sort of so many sort of layers of effort and hard work in what we do. What you see on the end product, a lot of people judge it by the color and so forth. So I said, okay, you can judge by your taste and you're going to compare with price and so forth. But in terms of the level of effort and the thought process that has gone into what we do, is unparalleled. I engrossed myself in the business. I put my heart and soul into it. What I drew from was my experience in Bangladesh, like I said, because wherever you go in the Indian subcontinent, you come across shacks, you come across rundown places where some individuals cooking up fresh food in front of you. So wherever you go, you can have a snack here and there. And I grew up in that environment where I used to be in the bazaars and I used to watch them make fresh, samosas to all these sort of sweets like rasgullas, fresh, and you have a tea with it. And, so I used to spend a lot of time in those markets and that kind of thing. And then I kept on thinking, okay, this place, how can I, it's elongated, it's not a massive restaurant. And I've got big restaurants, in terms of I'd be competing with big chandeliers and, contemporary, what do you call it, right? So I took a reverse thing. I said, what, how do I sort of give an exposure to people in terms of that little bit of experience of sort of transport them from here to the Indian subcontinent. So that's all I kept on thinking. And then I really went really rustic. I really, what do you call it? And like a lot of these places, they might look tacky, they might look shoddy, but the food is unbelievable, some of these places.
Yeah,
and as a chef, you go on taste memory. So you sort of, okay, I had this memory of this flavor that I like, and how do I bring this to life, And I had a funny experience. I was 14 in Bangladesh. Imagine that, 14 years old. So I had a little bike and it got punctured, and I traveled miles away in a coach without telling my parents. And first time I traveled on my own, that far. And there was a food hut. It's buzzing. People are just, it's in and out, like just packed, and they just basic curries. They're throwing food at people, boom, boom, in and out, and they got like guys sweating at the back cooking away, right? And I had this very basic curry in our, what do you call it? It's quite a basic curry, like it's a fish called fabia mas. Okay, it's a freshwater fish, quite small, and it's got a very light fillet. It's on the bone, so it was cooked whole. and with a very thin, watery, sort of brothy kind of curry. And I had that. Like I said, it's very basic looking shack, corrugated steel, open, what do you call it? And little flat plate came this curry, and to this day I remember how beautiful it tasted. If I go back now, I might not think as highly of it now, but at that point in time, for me, it was something special. Very authentic, raw as it comes. It was a bit spicy, but this is what it is. So I held into those sort of thoughts, and how do I replicate it in the UK? A lot of the time, the ingredients ain't quite the same. How do you overcome all that? Then, you might have an idea. Then how do you materialize that in a commercial way? So this is when things get a lot difficult, for you to be able to sell this. So that journey started from Lausanne, because we were like, okay, yes, it's mom's cooking, but it's a quiet taste. Us Bengalis, we were born with it, so we would obviously be nostalgic about it and we will eat it. But how do you make that palatable for a Western clientele? People that are gonna be, okay, this doesn't look like my average Balti, right? So that journey was required, and like I said, it's been invaluable for us because we've actually sort of honed in all those things. And I can't complain.
When you decided to make the move and make Rajamonkey slightly different, was everyone on board with you saying, "Well, I'm going it alone with Rajamonkey now"?
Yeah, well, that was my ultimatum. Like, as in, at that time, I won't mention the name. He was involved, and I said it's got to be my way only. But they were pleasantly surprised as well the way I executed it, and they all came to life and how popular it became. Like I said, it won hearts and minds, and I was so chuffed. When I said a bit earlier about putting a soul into the place.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far into it, but say 1 or 2 years later, Rajamonkey is all set up. I declined customers that were frequenting my restaurant. I didn't even realize. We're friends now. But I went and spoke to her one day. She says, "You know what? This place, I can sense something." And the penny dropped for me. And I says, "You know what? Because I never mentioned this to anyone in terms of this is my strategy or this is how." Because when I work in the kitchen, as you can see, we've got an open kitchen, and it used to be more of a buzz before because it's more compact before and more.
Yeah, it was half the size of this, wasn't it? You've expanded the restaurant.
Yeah.
So when you were eating in there, you were literally, you felt like you were in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's right. So we had a bit more of a buzz, and that sort of hustle and bustle of the Indian subcontinent was there. Now it's a bit more clinical and more clean, and what do you call it? I didn't want to lose that, but I had to make it bigger and make it a bit more streamlined so that I can service a bit more larger restaurant. When I'm in the kitchen, I have that in me where you want to give off that, sort of, I keep it tense so people feel. So it's sort of the whole energy is from that central individual that is there, so that my whole restaurant runs from my energy, and I deliberately give off that energy. So everyone's got to be on the A game. Not that because I don't believe in sort of in terms of the old school way of chefing and what do you call it? Intimidation. But I mean, I've experienced it, and I've been in environments where swearing and all that kind of thing happen. But here, I know I've come a long way where I realize people are the most important thing you've got, and you have to nurture them. Although my guys, they have the utmost respect, and it's not that they fear me as such, it's more the respect, and we've built this relationship within the whole team where they know you'll go like clockwork if they listen to me, and if they what do you call it?
They know you're right.
So we've got this system going, and like I said, I keep people on the edge so that people sense it, and having this open kitchen has allowed me to create this buzz as well, and like I said, I've enjoyed every bit of it, to be honest.
Is there anything now that you wish somebody had told you at the very beginning?
Certain things, but like I said, most of my ideas and policies I've worked out to my surprise. But there's certain things where I'm like 44 now, and for you to sort of take things further or embark on new adventures or projects or whatever, You have to think about, okay, how much shelf life do I have? Physically, can I pull it off? All that kind of thing. I wish I had started earlier and really, it grew on me as like me. Even to this day, I feel uncomfortable calling myself a chef. So
No way.
it's one of those sort of what's the word? They call it
Imposter syndrome.
imposter syndrome. Yeah, and part of it is probably because of not having that formal qualification and going through that formal process, or working in establishments that I can say, yeah, I work in the best establishments, and that's probably one of the reasons where so you feel a bit lesser. It's like my younger sister, actually, funnily, she said, I don't know why you like go on about these Michelin chefs and so forth. You're on their level. she says, and like I said, I come full circle. Like I said, I was really into sophisticated food and all that kind of thing. But then I realized, hold on, this is all in the mind. It's of perceptions, people perceptions. What a good food doesn't necessarily mean it's got to be presented in the French way, because the world is much bigger than that. And actually, as people from the Indian subcontinent, you got more to offer in terms of flavor and so forth. So for me, the journey is flavors king, and everything else is secondary. And I do things where I like to keep things in natural presentation rather than contrived presentation, or things that where looks effortless rather than putting mind before heart. Yeah. So this has all worked out for me, and people can actually they feel this. They can see this what I'm doing. But it's very hard to hold on to those kind of values where everything else is going the other direction, where everyone's trying to look fancy and all that kind of thing. But a good chef, you have because I'm an accountant, I understand that you have your basic foundation, your principles, and then you build on that, right? Like the way people have gone through the classical college, French college schooling, and they have the foundation and they build on it. But for me, you're a good chef if you can retain those classical sort of understanding of flavors and what you call it, and then push things. So someone said, "Oh, I'm doing deconstructed, plate of food, whatever, Indian food." I said to them, "Well, first you're going to have to construct it first, then you deconstruct." So if you start beginning, the right way around, it'd be learn how to construct things properly. Before you jump the gun and start deconstructing things, and because it's trendy, so a lot of things like that. So then I realized, hold on, most people don't like pretentiousness. As a chef, you want to push things in terms of techniques and really make what you call it, but that's not my driving force. My drive is like, I want to see the ordinary person, doesn't matter what color, what cultural background they come in. If they come to my restaurant, I want them to leave happy, and I want them to leave very satisfied. That is my goal, not necessarily, they say, oh, he's a smart chef. My plate is dancing with lots of things popping at me, So that doesn't motivate me at all. And as an individual, like, I'm quite philosophical, and you gotta have a philosophy, your own philosophy. And you gotta, and because like I says, I'm not a 17-year-old. I'm well grounded, I'm well cultured, and I have that sort of my natural, what you call it, is spiritual, and sort of how and one of the things I learned as well, and in business as well, they talk about it now more often. But I was doing this, I didn't realize they're called emotional intelligence. So I was applying emotional intelligence in everything, really, because I was feeling my way. I was feeling, subconsciously. I was using my all my senses rather than because that's how human beings are. We are not just one-dimensional. End of the day. So even the way I've done my restaurant now, the deco, and I wanted that natural feel about it. I always knew, our USP has always been quality. All these things could mean different things to different people, right? But our underlying principle, because that also can be a USP, having a quality about everything that you do. But in terms of commerciality and the way things are going with chains and so forth, it's going the other direction. So there's very little live cooking, very little, in terms of respect for, so people are cutting corners to all sorts of things that goes on, because commercially it's actually that direction is what that the gravitation is. So you in whole green on your own individual small business, how do you sort of stand your ground and not be sort of swayed by all that? That is a challenge, but I use that to my advantage, as in, people come from miles to this restaurant because they value. And the funny thing is, it's not just my customers, it's my industry peers. I'm talking Bangladeshi restaurateurs, chefs. They come from miles from all across the UK, and they really cheer us on, really cheer for Raja Monkey. And I'm talking genuinely. You can tell. Obviously, you go to restaurants, and I know a lot of restaurateurs. Everyone gets praises, and people are fickle. Let's be honest. When it comes to food, people are fickle. Like the way things are now, a lot of fast food and all these kinds of things. People are still saying amazing, amazing, right? So it's subjective, and unfortunately, people like me and people like what we're doing here, it's very sort of understated and sort of unappreciated, sort of not appreciated as it should be. I feel, because there's us putting all our blood and sweat to produce the best tasting food we possibly could. I'm not saying that there's nobody else doing good food. I'm just saying here's us trying to give you the real deal here. The real. I say, my goal has been I'm the real McCoy. You come here, you're gonna get the real deal. What it says on the tin, it's not nothing. So there's us putting all that absolute everything in there, and then people sort of going into anywhere that's throwing rubbish at them, and that place is busy, packed out, and you think, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So people's understanding of food maybe and that kind of thing, really is taking although exciting for us as chefs, there are a lot of foodies, but unfortunately the food that's been thrown out at people is really, I don't consider half of them to be food. It's just there are a lot of trash out there at the moment. And that also, unfortunately, in the youth as well, I've noticed, very little, they don't know how to cook and stuff. So it's becoming a bit of a sort of phenomenon that, we're witnessing, thinking, hold on, what's going on here? Talking about cooking, like my younger sister, she graduated and got a master's, etc. She did investment banking, right? And she didn't know how to cook, and I did a cookery class for her. So the stereotypical thinking of Asian men, sitting at home and the women cooking, and those days are gone.
And you're teaching your little sister.
Yeah.
I think I seen like the stat. It was something ridiculous. Like I'm sure it was nearly 90% of I think it was 16 to 21-year-olds use Deliveroo, Just Eat more than 3 times a week.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I wonder no one's got any money.
Yeah, it's mad though, isn't it?
On the flip,
it's become so easy for them.
On the flip side, the youth do create this vibe. Obviously, they're not thinking about the future of paying these debts off. But in terms of vibrancy, they do bring a lot of vibrancy and creativity. Of course, to the city, I've noticed, there's a lot of creativity and a lot of brands and all that kind of excitement in that sense is there. But I just hope that there would be, I guess I can't blame them because they've not come across solid places where, or, a pedigree can, where they can learn from, or, so I don't blame them in that
Someone
sense.
with a solid foundation.
Yeah.
Type vibe.
Yeah. So, most commercialized places are all about cutting corners, all about what can I get away with,
How much profit can I make?
Yeah, can I get away
That's
with?
all it is.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, it is so. For me, and you asked earlier, what do I sort of regret, or what would I have done differently? I mean, even now you probably notice from the way I speak, I'm really philosophical, and I'm not really driven for money. Although it's counterintuitive if you're a businessman, that's not what you should be doing, right? But that's not my driving force. So everyone has different motivations, and there's some people want to be famous, some people want to, earn lots of money and get rich, and so everyone has a different driving, and for me, I knew I in my you get all the other cogs right, money will follow. So that's how I set out, and I just wish I was a bit more sort of the entrepreneurialism sort of I wasn't a go-getter. I was when I was young, and then I just became spiritual, and I just didn't want nothing to do with that. Whereas my brother, is really sort of entrepreneurial. He's a risk taker, and me being an accountant, you become prudent, you become really sort of, okay, and if you're a perfectionist also, it doesn't help because it really slows you down. So I learned some things the hard way, where, you procrastinate too much, or so some of those things I would, what do you call it? If someone with hindsight gave me those advice, would have been useful. Yeah.
So being a businessman and a chef are probably two of the most stressful things ever. What do you do to kind of de-stress? Do you have any hobbies or anything?
I think, the most therapeutic thing is when I'm in the kitchen. It just plateaus my life.
Kitchen here, as in
Yeah.
at work,
It sort of balances my week, balances my day. I find, although it's a busy environment and what you call it, but the buzz that you're on, you're on a high at the end of each night, and so I'm always riding that high every day, and so that's how you counterbalance it, I think. And it's sort of, I'm emotionally, sort of plateau where I keep myself cool in that, and have to, because if you're in charge of the kitchen and if you lose the plot and then you get too excited, everyone else will lose the what you call it as well. So you cannot allow that, and then that, I think, built this sort of resilience and this sort of constant sort of managing stress levels. I think I'm fortunate for that, and I think that patience that I've got through this whole process, I think that's really invaluable.
Yeah.
Just have a good natural temperament, and
yeah, you have to. Don't get me wrong, I'm a human end of the day. I'm not going to be always, what you call it. But in terms of a lot of people say, "Oh, work hard," and hard work doesn't necessarily mean success. But what I do say is, like, budding chefs or young chefs is put in the graft, then try and become a celebrity or whatever else you want to be. Put in the graft and it will pay off. It'll pay its dividend. Okay, put your head down. Don't try and outwit and outsmart in the kitchen and become, quickly jump, different grades and become a super cook or a chef, because end of the day, those foundation will actually put you in good stead. Respect learning and learn all the time. Be a sponge. Those are would be my kind of advice, because I really, because it's a bit of haves and have-nots. People that been through the sort of academic sort of process or got a degree, for example, wouldn't they wouldn't feel the same as someone that's not been through that process. If I had the opportunity and I was a bit younger now, and the kind of opportunities are there now in terms of the kind of establishments that you could work in and then get exposure in, I would take it with both hands, because there are brilliant restaurants out there, places you can, will put you in, excel your career so much. They've done the foundational work for you. Just like people that have been in the industry, they accumulated all this knowledge, all this wealth and techniques and learning. And when they tell you, do this way, do this way, it's learned. And they're passing this on to you, which is invaluable, right? So you got to value that and you got to respect that. That's really also another aspect where when diners sometimes come in and critique the price of what you're offering, what they don't realize, yes, there's differences in establishments and differences in the products that people are putting out there. But if you can't distinguish between the product that's in front of you and what's gone in that establishment, I'm talking 27 years of my career and wealth of knowledge I'm putting on a plate for you, and you're disrespecting me and saying the price is too high. Okay, it's like going to a solicitor that's going to give you a good advice, right? And say, and who's put hours and hours of academic study, etc., and not valuing that person's. It's similar thing for a chef also, similar thing for a restaurant also. So before we judge to conclusions whether something's worthy or not, it's my accumulate. It's not like, oh, my 1 hour of cooking in the kitchen right now. It's all those accumulated years of what I'm putting in front of you. Even now, I could say with confidence, some of my dishes here, you will not find it anywhere. You will not find it anywhere. So that means it's a very rare thing what you're experiencing here, and we're giving you an experience like no other, right? And for you to belittle it by saying it's too expensive, that is almost can be deemed to be, demeaning to us.
Plus, the menus are available before you go somewhere. So if someone does have a problem, like who doesn't? Well, it might just be me. I don't know.
We study
but I
menus
study
now.
the menu. If I'm going to go somewhere, I'll have a look at the menu before I go. And if I think I can't afford that, then that's fine. Don't go. If it's not in, you don't happy. Some people aren't comfortable paying a certain price, and that's fine. If you don't want to, don't. But don't get there and complain when the menu was available for you to see before you got there.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. I mean, we are offering what we are offering. We want to be competitive. We want to be value for money. But there comes a certain point where, for the effort and everything that you're putting in, and for us to even survive, things are so difficult. Because me being a management accountant has helped tremendously. And I feel for people, the restaurateurs out there that don't have those skills, because it really is a numbers game. It really is. Like, one day you could be losing money, you don't even realize so you're losing money so quickly. If it was easy, then everyone would be having, there'd be loads of brilliant restaurants, wouldn't there? It's just a really a synchronization game that we have to play all the time. So I do have that gripe, especially for Indian food. It might be because of the years of people just throwing food at people, that has put this perception that Indian food should be cheap and cheerful.
That's the problem. Their food's too cheap. That's the problem.
Yes, that's right. So I don't necessarily blame the diners as such, because well, if everyone else is doing it $7.99, why can't you do $7.99, right? But I guess luckily it's only in the minority few people that would actually complain like that, and they go very satisfied when they do come. They realize what we're doing. They can see it. You open kitchen and they can see how much passion. I mean, it's a cliche to use, but we're so passionate about what we do, and people can sense it and see it.
Yeah, that's good. You've done a fair few pop-ups, and you come up, Rajamonkey comes up at like Independent Festival, and you did something at Harvey Nicks, and we see you here, there and everywhere. Is that something that you're going to continue doing?
Well, if the opportunity is right, I am. I have done things like the Rep Theatre. We have done like a program called Bangladesh to Birmingham. So I'm doing lots of things like that where it takes you out of your comfort zone. We don't do Bangladeshi food as such here. There's elements of things, obviously, but that event was purely Bangladeshi food. So, I had to really push myself. I had like 200 people, for example. That was amazing. And it was an occasion. And it was a bit of an honor as well, because, you are the representing particular region's food and that kind of thing. So I'm actually quite a reserved and shy individual. I don't like to be seen out there. I mean, funny story, like, early on in Lausanne, my brother would put me forward on, magazines. We do various things like Go NEC. We do food cook-offs and all sorts, and demos and that kind of thing. And they did put me in magazines. So you'd have a reporter once come, and he says, "Hold the plate on one hand," because my brother mentioned I used to do martial arts. Like, I used to teach kickboxing, and he said, "Put one leg up and hold another plate," and he took a picture of me. And after that, I said, no way, this is not me. I don't want to do this, right? And I just like said, no, my place. I'm happy with being in the kitchen. I don't care. I don't want to do this kind of nonsense, And so really, I've been getting on with it. But being an owner of like a business, the way things are, and I deliberately had to sort of show people what we're about, and that this place revolves around me, and there's a personality involved. But I've come a long way, so I'm really having to push myself out there, put myself out there for those various reasons, and then give a point of difference as well, because not many people are doing what I'm doing and that kind of thing. So we have lots of things planned. There's really good stuff coming up. I'm going to be involved with.
It's just the exciting thing I think of Birmingham at the moment, like pop-ups and crossovers and people cooking 2 different chefs, 3 dishes, 3 dishes. Like this whole collab thing that goes on at the moment is really interesting. It seems like there's a lot of it going on in Birmingham at the moment.
Yeah, I've got like an artist friend that we do a lot of collabs with. Did different lots of interesting events. There's one coming up where with the actual council, actually Birmingham, where European delegations come in, and I'm going to give them the Balti experience, or not, Indian food experience. And I did that similar thing when I went to Salzburg. I don't know whether you've seen that. That was amazing because my friends, he's actually did a exhibition at the Birmingham Museum, talking about the heritage of Indian restaurant sector. And so he was invited to go to Salzburg to tell the story of the Birmingham curry scene, or the British curry scene. And then he rang me up. He says, Munayam, what we're gonna give an experience. We'll give him a whole experience. So I flew over with him, and it was like bit like the flying doctor, but I was the flying chef basically. I would put all my spices in one bag, a suitcase, and you're flying blind. You don't know what to expect. Salzburg, I don't know. I mean, what they have or don't have ingredients wise. At the head of Indian food, I had no knowledge, zero knowledge about it, and I cooked up a massive, 80 people delegation. These were delegates from all around the world, USA, Australia, you name it, South Africa, and I put on a display of basically, Indian food, and my friend asked me reluctantly. He was quite nervous to ask. He goes, Munayam, can you do a chicken tikka masala? Because and he knows I'm like dead again. We never sold in our last 20 years. Abdullah sang, we never sold chicken tikka masala on our menu. All right. So I said, well, you know what? It's British curry, and there's no British curry without the chicken tikka masala. So I will do it. But what I did was a rendition of the best possible British curry. Because if ask 10 chefs, make me a chicken tikka masala, they'll make it 10 different ways. And this is how it is. All right. So I said, forget this then. I'm going to do my version of. I've tasted good ones and I've tasted really bad ones, okay, in the UK. And I said, I'm going to do my version of it. And you know what? It was a major hit over there. 80 people. They were. The whole mood changed. People are coming up to me. Even Indian people were there as well. I think he was the vice president of the Salzburg seminar. He came up to me and he said, I've been doing this job for 20 years. And he goes, this will be eventually remembered for another 20 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So, okay, like I said, by throwing myself out, I said, what, this is once in a lifetime. If I don't do it, I'm never going to do it. Even though I didn't know what to expect, how am I going to pull it off? Okay. I ended up in a Sri Lankan restaurant, very rudimentary.
Yeah.
Didn't have knife, nothing. Blender, nothing. The fridge weren't working that day. The extraction system wasn't working that day, right? No pots, no wedge pans, and I was on my own. I didn't take a team, and to cook for 80 people. And I said, oh, can you get curry leaves? And he says, yeah. He got me dried curry leaves. I said, I can't work with this. So he says, okay, his son's a bit younger, and he said he followed the UK, and he says, oh yeah, I know you think of you guys and whatever. Then he went, okay, I'm gonna get you some curry leaves, better ones. Then he came with frozen curry leaves. I was like, well, we don't work with these stuff. So even though with all those kind of behind the scenes drama, you went down a treat, and I was really, really chuffed at the end.
It's awesome.
So when's chicken tikka going on the menu?
Chicken tikka masala on the menu.
What days are you open here?
Yeah, so we do open 6 days of the week, and Monday's closed.
Yeah.
So Sunday's extended hours from 1 to 9. Closed Mondays for that very reason, to up our standards. Because what I found before, we used to open lunch, and our team, we used to cook in lunch, and we were serving customers at the same time. We had an effect on the standard. So I played a lot of, like I said, a lot of thought process went into behind the scenes of why you see now the end result of Raja Monkey, about how do I up the standards. When I first took over, I analyzed A to Z, and it was hit and miss. Some things were good, some things people went wow with. So you could not have that. You can't have that where you and I are dining together. You have a wow dish, and you are like satisfied, and I are like, oh, I'm disappointed with my dish. So you can't have that on a menu. So I went through the process of cleansing all that. How do I, so by closing one day and giving my guys off, and so you have same person doing the same job repeatedly, automatically you improve the standard, you improve consistency. So those very reasons, we got the best team every day, and that's the kind of reasons why we've maintained the standards that we have.
Good way to kind of finish off, and a fun way, light-hearted way to finish. Carl just asked a few general questions.
Yeah.
What's your favourite TV show?
Or
do you not watch much telly? You tend to find some of the chefs we speak to, they don't seem to watch anything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have time to watch TV, to be honest. I deliberately avoid it most of the time. But
Wow. Do you have a favourite movie?
yeah, a few. I never used to, but a few I like. Yeah, I mean, over the years, things like The Gladiator, some of the classics, really. Those kind of movies. I like really period kind of all those kind of
Yeah.
films.
Like
Yeah.
big sort of classic
Big
type
classics.
films.
Yeah.
I like that. Is there a cookbook you'd recommend to anyone?
Interesting. Which one would I recommend? I mean, if you're starting out, Camille Punjab's cookbook, which sort of her 50 dishes, Indian dishes, she calls, and it's quite sort of a good foundational sort of recipes there that I think that should be in your repertoire to read.
What's your favourite dish that you cook at home?
At home, I cook different like pasta, fish. I'd just quick stuff and quite basic sort of non-Indian stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I cook for the family. I like simple flavors. Yeah, nothing. Because I'm open-minded. I mean, I like certain flavors. I personally like. I like healthy food. I do eat a lot of things with olives and all that kind of thing. But nothing. I would say I'm particularly like strong like feeling of this is the best food.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try not sort of limit myself into. I keep an open mind about food.
Oh, nice. Other than Birmingham, what's the best food destination in the world? What city you heading to?
I can't say that to truly because I haven't traveled much. But one place I do like, the vibe, sort of in London. There's one or two places I think they do really good food. And I like Sri Lankan cuisine. I think that thing's really, really nice. He has a bit of everything. He's got a bit of Indianness, a bit of a point of difference to the Indian food as well. Yeah, I really like Sri Lankan food. Yeah. I mean, funnily enough, is that in the UK you actually got access to really good food comparison to even in the Indian subcontinent. Not many places they don't. Just because you hear Indian food amazing doesn't mean every place is going to be necessarily amazing. Not every place do care about what they put out to people. That culture of eating out and stuff is a new phenomenon, like I said. So you're more likely to find good food in people's homes, where stereotypical sort of all the classic food is being cooked. A lot of the time it's in like open flames. We call it chula, which is like just sort of basic way of cooking. We're putting logs in the ground and you're burning logs and you're cooking on open fires. Very rudimentary, very sort of how we've always been cooking, as humans. And then it has the smoky flavors, and
Yeah, I was gonna say it adds a lot to the
adds a
flavour
lot
of
of what
dish
you call
anyway,
it. So
yeah.
women just sit on there out in the garden, nice weather obviously around there, and they just throw all the ingredients in one pot, and it comes out beautiful.
Magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me done.
That's you.
Brilliant. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much for coming on.
No,
mate.
thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
I could talk forever. innit?
We could listen, man. I was loving that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
so much.
No, thank you guys, because obviously it helps to get the message out there, isn't it? Like if people do bother listening and have the patience to hear a bit of that, it helps because we're a little restaurant. We're trying to say, hello guys, we are here. Notice us. Look how much hard work we're putting behind the scenes, and not people are oblivious to it. And it sort of any little thing helps. So thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.